That event, but breaking tonight, the Clinton campaign is battling back over Benghazi as brand new Fox News polls show the potential 2016 presidential candidate may have a credibility problem. Welcome, everybody, tonight to the Kelly File. I'm Martha McCallum, and tonight for Megyn Kelly. So these new polls came out just a couple of hours ago, and they find that half of the American people believe that Mrs. Clinton has been deceitful about the events surrounding Benghazi. Even more, 54%, say that they believe President Obama has not been honest about what happened that night and in the aftermath. And a majority believe that the Obama administration knowingly lied about Benghazi in order to help the president's re-election campaign. The polls happen to be released hours after former President Bill Clinton defended his wife on this issue. Watch.
In my opinion, Hillary did what she should have done. She impaneled a very high-level review committee. They gave 29 recommendations. She took them and started implementing them. And they established the fact that whether it was right or wrong in the past, secretaries of state never were involved directly in these security decisions. And they also have untangled what was an early mystery at Benghazi when all we knew was that 4 people were killed. The last time we had one of these things made public was when I did it after the Africa embassy bombings in 1998. And so most Americans don't even know how many American diplomatic personnel were killed when President Bush was president. They don't know what, if any, after-action review was done. So I think my advice to everybody involved is to be not defensive and realize what this is and just answer questions.
What is it?
No, you just want me to get in a political fight. I'm not running for anything. I'm not doing that.
Mark Thiessen is former speechwriter for President George W. Bush and an American Enterprise Institute fellow. Joe Trippi is former presidential campaign manager for Howard Dean, and he has worked on a number of Democratic presidential campaigns. Also a Fox News contributor. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Good to be with you. Good to be with you, Martha.
All right, let's take a look at some of this. You heard Bill Clinton moments ago. Mark, let me start with you. He basically said, look, you know, these sorts of things are generally not disclosed, and that was the case here. And it's you know, there's no there under President Bush's presidency. People didn't know when these kinds of things happened. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, you know, he talked about his response to the East Africa embassy bombings. His response to those bombings was, in President Bush's words, to fire a $10 million missile into an empty tent and hit a camel in the butt. So this is not exactly a guy who had a vigorous response. And with all respect to President Clinton, when he says that, you know, the issue is how many American diplomatic personnel were killed during Bush's tenure, that's not the issue. The question is how many American diplomatic personnel were killed in attacks under President Bush where he said it was not a terrorist attack and lied to the American people about it for weeks. And the answer is zero, none. That is the issue here. What we have is a situation where if the President of the United States had simply come out and said, look, Americans understand this is a dangerous world. The terrorists are going to attack us, and sometimes they're going to succeed. We are not going to let them succeed. This was a terrorist attack on the anniversary of 9/11, and we're going to find the people who did this and get them and deliver justice, and then gone out and done something about it. Americans would have rallied to him. That's the issue.
That answers the President Bush question that was raised by Bill Clinton. But what about these poll numbers, Joe? There's been an effort, clearly, on the part of Hillary Clinton and many Democrats to say, look, this is over. This is old news. Dude, this happened 2 years ago, right? These polls reflect that people simply do not feel that way. They feel that something was hidden from them, Joe.
Well, no, I think that's right. I think part of it is the way the administration's handled it. I mean, again, you know, classic crisis management is to get all the facts out there right away. As bad as they are, or as good, whatever your argument is, get them all out there, get the emails out there, get them out a year ago after the last election, and be transparent about it. And because they weren't, because these things keep dribbling out, people are having this reaction. But I think, you know, 2 years from now, first of all, we don't know if Hillary Clinton's going to run. And if she does, 2 years from now, if we're still talking about Benghazi, I don't think the Republicans are going to find much traction there in terms of it affecting her standing. She's still the most popular Democrat out there.
True.
With all this happening right now, she's up by 10, 15, 20 points against most of the Republican challengers that are listed against her in polls, with all these facts out there the way they are.
That's absolutely right. And she's got to be weighing that and measuring that as she looks at this, Mark, because we do know that she knows that it's an issue for her, she has admitted. She said it's her biggest regret from her tenure thus far is Benghazi.
Yep. And I disagree with Joe's premise a little bit in the sense that I don't think this is about whether it's going to hurt Hillary Clinton or not. I think this is about getting answers. I think we had a terrorist attack take place that killed the first American ambassadors since the 1970s. And 20 months later, we still don't have answers to questions. Where was the President of the United States when the attack happened? What was he doing? Why did they blame it on an Internet video when there was when the intelligence community never said anything about an Internet video? Why did they continue to say it after there was evidence that there wasn't an Internet video or a protest? These are legitimate questions, and when you see that poll that you put up there showing that that Americans believe, a majority of Americans believe that President Obama lied about Benghazi to aid his presidential campaign. Think about what that means. The Americans think that the president put his own reelection ahead of American national security. That is a devastating thing for our country. So we need to get to the bottom of the answers, whether that's true or not, and what really happened in Benghazi.
You know what else it brings to mind, and the question that you raised, Mark, about where the president was goes to this as well. It's the actuality of the 3 a.m. phone call, and I think when you get to the next round of a presidential election, I can easily imagine whoever's running against Hillary Clinton, if indeed she does run, saying, where were you? Where were you in the middle of the night when all of this started to happen? And that in the larger picture of accountability and foreign policy, and where were you when this happened? What did you do? What was your recommendation to the president when you spoke to him that evening, Joe?
Well, look, if she runs for president, these are all going to be questions that she will be asked on the stump, not just by press, but by voters in Iowa and New Hampshire, not just the primaries, but in the general election if she's the nominee. But in the end, I don't think. Look, I really believe people think that Hillary Clinton's competency, there aren't many questions about her competency or about her being tough. So I don't think in the end this is going to come back against her. I know there are those that don't think that, but we'll see.
Joe, Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks, Martha.